Hello everyone, Andrew here, and welcome to today's video, which is actually going to be a video response. I don't believe that YouTube officially has those anymore, but who cares, we're doing it anyway, because sometimes just one of the most fun things you can do is look at a video that someone else has made, look at the points and thoughts that they give in it, and then share some of your own as well. And it also kind of, brings back that community feeling that YouTube used to have a lot more of. So by doing this, hopefully I can give their awesome channel some attention as well. And today we are responding to StelerSteel, who recently made a video about the move to kind of all digital games and what's happening to physical releases, and comparing, the benefits and disadvantages that both physical and digital games have. The video I'm responding to can be found down in the description below, and I highly recommend checking out their channel. They're an up-and-coming YouTuber, and they make some really cool content. Plus, they have the same name and last name initial as me, which is very weird and bizarre. So I think we have to, look out for each other when you're just kind of that close. But with that said, this is going to be my response to their thoughts. So definitely check out their video. And I don't believe I've ever really given my thoughts on kind of the massive shift to digital on my channel. It's kind of a cliche topic at this point, but everyone has their own opinions, so I think it's fun to share them, and I hope that you enjoy hearing what I have to say. With that said though, as you all know, obviously, I'm a pretty massive video game collector, but my thoughts on this may surprise you a little bit, which is, again, why I think this is kind of so interesting to share. If my thoughts were just, adamantly, no, physical is better than digital, end of story, this wouldn't be a very interesting video, but I hope that, again, you enjoy, hearing maybe both sides of my thoughts in this regard. And that is that, honestly, if Nintendo announced today that their next console is going to be all digital, no option for physical at all, it wouldn't really bother me all that much. Now you're probably thinking, Andrew, you love collecting video games, you have like thousands of video games, how could you just suddenly, overnight, be okay with the next console not being physical? And that's because there is just so much out there to collect already. The retro games aren't going anywhere. And that's always what I've loved collecting. So the fact that if going forward modern games weren't getting physical releases anymore, I think I could live with that, knowing that there would still just always be retro stuff out there still to collect. It's not just going to disappear overnight because the modern video game industry decides it doesn't want to have physical releases anymore. Now, in the modern day, physical releases are already so watered down. Like, let's take the recently released Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, open that up, and what do you get? Absolutely nothing. Not even the game is in there. It's being played right now, but like, honestly, it's just not really that much to it anymore. And yeah, overall, it's pretty much just a case now that holds the game, and that's it. But honestly, there are, of course, still benefits to buying physical over digital. A big one being that if I buy this, I can then take that cartridge and play it in any Nintendo Switch that I want. It's not just locked to the console that it was downloaded to. Like right now, my mom is a massive Mario 3D World fan, and she is the one who is enjoying this game at the moment. She's actually playing through the main Mario 3D World campaign for like the nth time, because that's just how much she loves it. And then when she's done playing it, I'll take that and I'll probably touch more on the Bowser's Fury part, which I'm rather interested in. So in that way, it really does kind of allow you to, share the game with others, take it to a friend's house, maybe even resell it when you're done to get a bit of money back. So there is definitely a benefit to the fact that, physical games still exist, where obviously if you just download the digital one, you don't have any of those benefits. And another thing is too that digital games tend to be the same price as the physical releases. Now if we're talking about something like Steam, where there's frequent sales and stuff, maybe that's not always true, but Nintendo's first-party games definitely are always up there. Like in Canada, for example, we pay $79.99 for our kind of, first-party Switch games, which is crazy to think about. I think down in the US, you guys only pay like $60, so with the exchange rate, we pay more, but they don't go down, ever. Like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still $80, and that was like a game that came out way back when the Switch launched, and they just never go on sale. So if I were to buy a Switch game for full price that I know is never going to go on sale digitally, I'm obviously just going to buy it physically for the same price, because at least I actually get more with it. I mean, you'd be silly not to, pay and get more if it's going to be the same price either way. And that's my opinion though. I mean, there obviously is the benefit to digital too, where then you don't have to worry about cartridges, storing the cases on your shelf. You can just kind of load up that SD card and play your games wherever you go without having to worry about taking them with you. That's an awesome benefit too, but I just can't see myself paying the same price I would pay digitally for something I could get physically, and then technically get more, and then again have the potential to share that game with other Switches or other people as well. Now if the digital copy was like, $10 or or so percent off, you know, maybe $10 off, 10, 20% off, I could see myself potentially buying the digital copy over the physical one. Because obviously there'd be a savings in that regard, and it makes sense too, because there doesn't have to be any production cost to the store, who then has to stock it and put it on the shelf and make a little bit of profit on it. The digital copy should technically, when you think about it, be less expensive than the physical one, but you know, Nintendo's not like that. They're gonna get every penny out of you, so there's just really no benefit in my mind, as someone who doesn't mind having the cartridges and not having everything just loaded on that SD card all the time, to go out there, buy the physical copy, get something I can put on the shelf, and then again, something that I have the potential to share. And I don't sell my games back, but there is of course that value someday. Say that someday this becomes like a super rare game. I know it's not, but then I can sell it back and, you know, maybe get some money back for it. Speaking of games that actually are kind of valuable though, let's look at one like Yooka-Laylee, an awesome game. I touched on this in my recent stream. I think everyone should check it out, especially if you're a fan of the old Rareware collectathons. Now, this is really cool. Again, I got it from my mom, who had an absolutely awesome time with it, and then I took it, played it myself. Yooka-Laylee is cool though. It actually does come with like an instruction manual, one of those rare Switch games that will come with something in there, kind of designed to look like an N64 manual. And Yooka-Laylee, for example, is actually a somewhat, you know, expensive game out there. I can easily sell this back right now for exactly what I paid for it, if I desire to do so. And since it is from limited run games, you just never know how many are going to be out there. It's potential it will be worth someday more than I paid for it. So that's a benefit to having the physical copies right there, where once that game is on your Switch digitally, there's obviously no way you're ever going to sell it back. And plus, if I downloaded it digitally, then I would, you know, my mom wouldn't be able to play it, I wouldn't be able to play it, anyone else wouldn't be able to play it, I wouldn't be able to sell it back. So I definitely see the benefit to physical games in that regard. But how about games that don't come out with physical copies right away? They only come out digitally. An example of that is Hollow Knight, an absolutely incredible Metroidvania-styled game. If you have not played it and you like the Metroidvania genre, I cannot recommend it enough. But back when I played it, there was no physical release, so I obviously just downloaded it. But then later on, it did come out with a physical release, which obviously, if that had existed at the time when I played the game originally, I definitely would have just bought the physical one rather than the digital one. Well, Milesluigi, my good friend, being the awesome man that he is, sent me this for Christmas. Thank you so much. I love having, you know, a physical copy of a game I really love in my collection, of course. But it hurts to see a game that you bought digitally come out physical later on. And there actually is a game right now that I really want to play, but I'm kind of worried that that will happen, and that is Bug Fables. Of course, kind of this, you know, spiritual successor of sorts to Mario, Paper Mario. It looks really cool, and I can't wait to play it someday. But as of now, it's only digital, and there's these kind of talks floating around of, you know, there's probably going to be a physical copy someday. So I haven't played it yet because I don't want to buy the digital one, and then like the next day, the physical one is announced or something like that. So I've just been kind of holding out for the physical, and it's been putting me in this kind of limbo where, no, I haven't played the game yet. I really want to play it, but I want to wait for the physical one, so I want to buy the digital one, and then the physical one comes out, and then I have to kind of like maybe buy that too, just for collection's sake, because if it's a really good game, I like owning the physical one too. Plus, it was, again, probably going to be a game that holds some value into the future. If it's as good as everyone says so, I would just love to own the physical one, but because I can't play it because there's only digital right now, like, oh, it's a massive pain. And what I really kind of wouldn't mind, with all that said, is I kind of hate the mix of physical and digital right now, where you just never know if a digital game is going to get a physical copy. Where if Nintendo said, okay, our next console is only digital, I would never have to worry about that. I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, 6 months down the road, this game that I bought digitally is now out physically for the exact same price I paid for it anyway, so now I feel like I got ripped off. I could just buy games digitally and not have to worry about that. I think that would just be really nice, but right now, where, you know, you just never know if that game you buy today is going to be physical tomorrow. It is kind of a pain in that regard, and it makes me not want to buy some games and instead kind of hold out to see if they do come out with physical ones, which in turn means I don't play as many games as I would you know, like to play, just because you never know. Ugh. I hope I'm not the only one who kind of feels that way. I'd love to hear, again, all of your comments down below. Don't be afraid to make a video response to this video, and then I'll, like, you know, link it somehow. Fortunately, there's not like a really nice YouTube video response feature anymore. But that's how I kind of feel about all that. Plus, one more thing I should mention about the Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is that by pre-ordering it, I got a commemorative coin, which is just like, you know, another kind of physical thing added on top of that, where if you bought it digitally, I doubt you would get something like that. Plus, a big thing in the Nintendo Direct that just happened was they're like, alright, go and pre-order it on the eShop now. And it's like, why would you pre-order a digital game? It's just kind of strange. Maybe, again, if pre-ordering it got you like 5-10% off, that would make a lot of sense, but I don't know. Just, there's a lot of things about digital games that seem pretty bizarre to me. And as for now, I really like there being physical copies of things. But again, having that kind of mix of physical and digital can be a pain at times, and I would love to, you know, maybe it just be one or the other again. Would be really nice. Because overall, I have to admit that just for the sake of collecting, like, as I mentioned back at the beginning of the video, if Nintendo said their next console was going to be only digital, I wouldn't even mind all that much. The thing I would miss the most is that ability for someone else to play the game, and then I can play the game, even if we have different switches. That you know, we wouldn't have to worry about downloading things off the internet and worrying about whose account it's on. You can just kind of give them that cartridge, and they can go. And that's kind of the biggest thing for me in terms of physical games right now. It's not even the fact that I can put this on myself and, you know, collect it, per se. Just because I feel like when it comes to collecting, the main thing for me is definitely retro. And retro's not going to go anywhere regardless of what happens into the future. I'm not so into collecting modern things. Like, just buying modern things for the sake of buying them and adding them to the collection is not something I like doing all that often. I've mentioned many times on my channel, probably something like a broken record at this point, but for me, just as much as building up my collection was fun, it was the thrill of the hunt. And just the adventure of going out there and going into that thrift store and never knowing what you were going to find, that was so much fun for me in my video game collecting journey. Just, you know, going to the section that has, you know, picture frames and candlesticks and whatever, and finding Game & Watches just randomly mixed in because they had no idea what they were. Like, that was the fun of collecting for me, just as much as it was getting all the games and being able to play them, was just the adventure of getting it all. And obviously just by going to the store and paying $79.99 for a new copy of Super Mario 3D World isn't really that same level of fun. I guess it'd be just as fun if I downloaded it on the eShop. So with all that said, I think the last thing we need to talk about, though, is just kind of the scarier side to what an all-digital future would mean. I don't think we need to look any further than Super Mario 3D All-Stars to really see what kind of the problem with only having digital games would be. Because at the end of March, you're not going to be able to buy this thing on the eShop anymore. Well, you would think that the eShop or any online store would mean that thing is going to be there forever, never need to worry about it going out of stock. Any day that I want to buy that game, I can just log into that store and get it. But as we're seeing, you know, stores are closing down, you can't access the Wii Shop channel anymore. Who knows how much longer the Wii U eShop's going to be up. Someday the Switch eShop's not going to be up. And then even before that, you have games like this, which just arbitrarily at the end of March, you're not going to be able to buy anymore. So thankfully, there are physical copies that if someday you decided you really wanted this, you could go seek out that physical copy. But in an all-digital future, obviously at any moment, games can disappear from the stores, they cannot be on sale any longer. We've seen other things like DuckTales Remastered. There was a scare on the 3DS a few weeks ago about some things disappearing, but then maybe it was just a mistake, so they came back. So there is that really scary side to it as well. Well, if you have you know, the physical option, you know that if someday you want to play that game, even if it becomes super rare and obscure, it at least is still out there and obtainable should you really wish to play it. Now, you do have things like emulation and such which kind of come into the scene, like even though the Wii Shop channel is not up anymore, all that stuff is backed up online, so you know, you can access it should you really want to. I don't know how exactly that works for more modern things, so there is kind of the back door, you know, kind of side to it, which hopefully should prevent any digital media from just disappearing completely forever, but you never know. And that just is also like the really scary side to things going all digital as well. And it is just unfortunately kind of, you know, part of that modern concept of like you don't really own anything anymore. You're just kind of downloading and renting, but should anything ever happen to that service, or maybe, you know, your console breaks, you just really don't have, you know, that kind of backup to go to that you have with physical media, where no matter what happens to your Switch, no matter what happens to your online account or what happens to the online store, you can always play this as long as you have the console to do so, even if it's not the console you like originally purchased it for. So there's a lot of things to consider on both sides, and unfortunately all digital anything is like super scary, and it's kind of where the world is moving to, but it's convenient, and you know, a lot of people really like that convenience, and it has its benefits and disadvantages, and I feel like after all we've talked about in this video, it's strange So I love physical for the fact that, you know, it's tangible, as I've mentioned many times now. I can give it to someone else, they can play it on their Switch, I can play it on mine. It of course isn't just going to randomly disappear after March 31st. But, you know, I like having the physical, you know, I wouldn't mind from a collector's standpoint just having digital either, because it's not so much that, you know, I care to have it on my shelf, it's more that I know it's there that to play when I want, and that it's not just going to randomly, you know, go poof one day. So those are my thoughts on this matter. It's a crazy and complicated subject, which again is why I know it's been touched on so much, but I thought it would still be fun to give my thoughts. And again, please do not, you know, be afraid to share your own, either down in the comments below or in a video response of your own. And definitely, please check out StelerSteel's video, which this is a video response to in the first place. So thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks, and see you later. Thank you so much once again for checking out my videos. I really appreciate it, and if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as it really helps my channel out. With that said, hope to see you next time.